Praetorian is an abstract strategy game similar to chess. Each player controls an army of creatures in their color. There are two ways to win the game. The first is to have one side's creatures on each of the 5 purple power squares. Alternatively, you could defeat the enemy's mage to win. All tokens on the board are called creatures. Both sides are equally balanced, even though the creatures look different. For example, the yellow slimes have the same abilities as the blue slimes. Likewise, the yellow centipede is exactly the same as the blue scorpion. The tokens off to the side of the board are spells. Both players have identical spells. Each mage also has 4 hit points, which are tracked with the heart tokens. Finally, each player plays with a set of dice. It is recommended that you play with at least a red side of dice to represent fire, white dice to represent freeze, and 4 dice of your color. Each player's turn consists of 3 phases. First, move or cast a spell. Second, attack. And third, upkeep. First, in the move or cast a spell phase, the player decides if they would like to move one of their creatures. Movement can be orthogonal, or some creatures can move diagonally. In this slime example, the white squares are orthogonal and the black squares are diagonal. Creatures that move along the ground are blocked by both friendly and enemy creatures. For example, this centipede is currently unable to move because it is blocked on all 3 sides by friendly creatures. Creatures that fly are able to fly over both friendly and enemy creatures. For example, this bat can fly over this friendly slime. Movement does not need to be in a straight line. For example, this bat has a range of 3 and therefore could move orthogonally up to 3 spaces, such as 1, 2, 3. Or the bat could move 1, 2, 3. Instead of moving a creature, the player's mage can cast a spell. I will provide more details on that later. If a creature moves into a square occupied by an enemy creature, combat occurs. Here is an example of a blue ghost attacking a yellow bat. Each creature has different hit points, and that equals the number of dice that can be rolled in combat. For example, slimes have 1 hit point each, and therefore roll 1 die. Bats and ghosts each have 2 hit points, and therefore roll 2 dice. See the Praetorian Creatures reference sheet for more details. Hits occur each time a die rolls a 5 or a 6. As a creature takes damage, it is weakened, and the number of dice available to roll are diminished. When a creature's hit points reach 0, it is dead and removed from the game. It is possible for both the attacking and defending creatures to eliminate each other if the final rolls in combat are both 5s or 6s. Instead of moving a creature, the mage may cast a spell. There are 6 spells available, and they are identical for each side. Each spell can only be cast once. Refer to the Praetorian Spells reference sheet for more details. Each spell has the following constraints. No spells can be cast on a purple tile or against any creature located on a purple tile. Additionally, you cannot cast spells that affect enemy mages. Here is a summary of each of the spells. Fire is cast by removing the token and placing a d6 dice at the intersection of any non-purple squares. Any creature entering those squares, both friendly and enemy, will take 1 hit point of damage. This includes creatures that teleport into the squares. Creatures that were already in the squares or that leave the squares are not affected. To cast Freeze, place a single white d6 dice on top of an enemy creature. As long as that dice is on top of the creature, it cannot move. To cast Heal, your mage must have already taken damage. By casting Heal, one of your mage's hit points is restored. To cast Revive Slime, one of your slimes must have already been killed. To cast Revive Slime, place the slime on any square adjacent to your mage that is not purple. To cast Summon Water Elemental, you may place the elemental on any enemy creature. Then combat begins. The water elemental rolls 2 dice like a centipede or a scorpion. After combat concludes, the water elemental is removed from the game regardless of whether it won or lost the combat. The final spell is Teleport. To cast Teleport, you may move any friendly creature to any unoccupied square in the game that is not purple. The third phase is Upkeep. After movement or casting a spell and combat, upkeep occurs. Here is an example of upkeep from the blue player. The blue player decides to move their slime. No combat has occurred, so therefore upkeep occurs. All creatures move up to their full health. Any die that is on the board is rotated down 1 value. Any die that had a value of 1 when upkeep occurs is completely removed from the game. That indicates the spell is no longer active. After upkeep, it is the next player's turn. Each player takes turns moving or casting spells, performing combat, and doing upkeep. Games cannot end in a stalemate, since even if the final 2 creatures in the game are both mages, combat will eventually occur. However, games can end in a mutual loss if both players eliminate the opposite mage on a roll of 5 or 6 on both sets of dice in the final round. Here are a few more details about the game. Squares that match the color of the creature grant the creature a power-up. The creature is able to successfully attack on a roll of 4, 5, or 6 instead of just a 5 or 6. Additionally, slimes can merge together. One friendly slime can move on to another friendly slime. That gives the merged slime 2 hit points, and thus 2 dice to roll in combat, but is at the expense of the slime's ability to move diagonally. If a merged slime wins combat by only taking 1 hit point of damage, it is fully healed back to 2 hit points during upkeep. In other words, do not remove one of the slime tokens if the slime took 1 hit point of damage. Likewise, if a merged slime loses combat, both tokens are removed from the game. Slimes can be unmerged at any time as a movement. There are a few other sample nuances in the rules that can be found in the full rule set.